Hello and welcome. I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney and legal coach based here in Seattle, Washington. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. So I have one of my favorite people here with me today, Yifat Cohen. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So Yifat and I have known each other a few years now, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of her work. I've gotten to know her a bit over the years, and she's a brilliant woman and is really up to some interesting things. Yifat, so she has a fabulous background. She was one of the first 100 people to be invited to Google Plus. She has built her entire brand with one show on one platform that most people didn't even care about, right? And then, of course, she's made some changes since. But Google hired Yifat and flew her around the world to train their own team and speak at their offices, which they hardly let a non-Googler do. She worked with the city of Austin, was featured on radio shows, big stages, and live events, all because she understands one thing. In our overly connected world, we are starving for connection. And when we provide that connection, we are rewarded with referrals, loyalty, and money. Her clients have generated over $250,000 in 10 days from a dead list because of her engagement strategy. Others have made over $100,000 in that same span of time, while others saw 40% conversions and high ticket sales from a cold audience. Today, Yifat provides that service to companies who have more leads than clients and helps them add an additional 10 to 20% to their bottom line without paying for more leads. I love that. That's quite the introduction, Yifat. I can't wait for us to share with people how you do that. So welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. And tell people, for those that don't know you, what is your current company called? Where can people find you?
So, yes, I have two websites. One is the show that you talked about, and that happens every other Thursday at 1 p.m. Central. And it's kind of like Think and Grow Rich for the 21st century, where you can come in and actually interview and talk to thought leaders and CEOs and actors and speakers and all these awesome people live in real time. You can pick their brain and get your business, your relationship, your health, on the right track. The other one where we do that for our clients, that's viralconnectivity.com. And that's where we can start talking about making you the celebrity, putting you out there, creating content and visibility for your needs.
And the first show is the I'm That Geek show, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
people can just Google that. You'll see that Yifat has interviewed quite a few guests and some really phenomenal folks on there. Who are some of the favorite people that you've interviewed on that show?
It's really interesting because one of the ladies that I interviewed was a stripper who turned into a business coach. And that was a fascinating interview, right? Because all of a sudden you're pivoting from being judged over your looks to being judged over
Wow.
your brain.
Yeah.
And so that was a fantastic conversation. And there were moments where of vulnerability, and she cried, and I was like, wow,
Mm.
it's a really great interview. Um, the other ones, I've had the senior vice president of Walt Disney Marketing, and we talked about bringing the Muppets back. And there's
Uh,
always I'm Israeli and I'm not very PC. And so I love moments where people are like, no comment, can't talk about this.
You're
So
like,
really good
yes,
interview.
I asked the right question, right?
Yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, really, really great stories. We had the former US ambassador to the UN who actually came from the killing fields in Cambodia all the way, like actually escaped there and became
wow.
the former US ambassador. And when he came to New York, his English wasn't that great.
Mm.
And he got a job at a Subway. And someone came in, ordered a sandwich, and said, hold the lettuce. And he goes like, okay, I'm holding, now what? And I'm like, dude, I totally relate. I had exactly the same thing when I was waitressing, and someone is like, hold the rocks, like, on the rocks. I'm like, what the hell is that? So, interviews like that, when you feel like you're not the only weirdo in the world, are really, really cool.
Oh, I love that. That's, oh my gosh, hold the lettuce. Like, okay, I'm here. I've got it. What next? Hilarious. Well, I highly recommend people check out that show. Yifat's a fabulous interviewer. She's got really interesting guests. So it's a lot of fun. And I imagine you cover a lot of topics on that show.
Yeah, so at the beginning, the show was called Entrepreneurial something. We changed like so
Mm.
many names because I realized there was nothing really connecting all the stories and all the people there except me geeking out over these topics. So, like what does SEO have to do with the killing fields of Cambodia? Like nothing. Ifat cares about both of them. And so it ended up being like, I'm that geek and I geek over these things, and hopefully you geek about them too, and you can come in and we'll geek out together.
No, I love that. And I loved, because I think that's how you and I connected actually, right?
Yeah,
Was
you were on my show.
yes, and that's been a few years now, but I remember just loving the title of your show, and then when we connected, I totally got it. Um, so the thing, back to the online space and what you do, what you're brilliant at, but I want to start by like where people are blocked, right? Where people struggle, because I just had a conversation with a woman where we were just talking about all of the noise online. Like, how do we cut through this noise, right? And
Right,
especially right now in COVID, like everybody's scrambling to get online. Like, even people who have known they should have done that previously, like they're
right,
now finally doing it because there's no other choice.
right.
What do people get wrong in that, in that effort of trying to be online, show up? I mean, I've got my own opinions, but I'd love to hear from you what you think people get wrong.
Yeah, I think the first thing, and it's not people's fault because that's how internet marketers were doing it this whole time. It's basically talking at people,
Mm.
right? So we moved from blogging, which is me talking at you, and then that moved to emails, me talking at you, and then we moved to teleseminars, me presenting to you, and then we had webinars, me presenting and picking up whatever questions, and then videos where we don't even talk, you just comment. And now to live stream, same thing. I talk and you listen. And if you want, you comment and I choose which comment I want to show. And so what happens is like everybody's just throwing content out there and nobody's actually having a conversation. And because technology changed so much, so now you can create anything you want with technology, right? You can have Obama say whatever you want with deepfake. Obama can be like, oh my God, you got to listen to Heather's podcast. It's the best. And
Yeah,
he
I
never
gotta get
said
him to
that.
say that. I really have to get him to say that.
You don't have to get him to do anything, right? You grab his video or his selfie and you got a program that makes it say it in his own voice. And so now nobody believes anything anymore.
Mm,
And that's the problem, right? You're putting so much content out there and people just don't trust anything they see online. So you're not converting. And so you think your content doesn't work. And so you start paying for ads and that takes a lot of money and that has more
mm.
converting, right? And so with ads and with content, we're just bombarded with like, I don't know what's true anymore. And so what's missing is that one-on-one connection, right? That we're doing. And we have the technology to do that with live streaming, with chats. Chats work very well. And
Mhm.
we just need to start having conversations instead of going like, it's like, hey, what's your problem? How can I help you? Let me show you that I can help you in real time, right? And let everybody else see that I can help you. And then I don't have to say to everybody, look at me, I can actually help. They see me helping and they're going like, oh, I want some help too. And then they come to you.
I love that. And it's so true. I mean, your example makes it really clear. Like, we went from blogging to email to, ABC, XYZ, and they are all like one directional,
Yeah.
right? Me talking at you. And it's I think we all know that experience. Like, I was it's kind of a personal story, but there's a particular person in my family who will make like 40-minute Marco Polos. Right? And like being on the receiving end of that, oh, there's some craziness happening right now over a certain issue. And my sister is on the receiving end of like 40-minute Marco Polos. And it's that experience of like being talked at and not
Yeah,
having it be a conversation. And
right.
the thing I love about what you do, and I've participated in some of your events, like we've known each other through
Yeah.
the online space for years now, is that focus on engagement and conversation and connection and really moving away from that model of talking at you.
It's very
So,
interesting, right? A lot of people are doing challenges right now.
yeah,
And in those challenges, they again talk at people, right? And then you have to go back and you have to figure out how to apply what they just told you. But it's like, I don't know how, right? And so they're going like, okay, now you need help applying. Here's the price, right?
yeah,
And you don't even know if you can do it or not because you haven't tried. So I think, with everything that's happening right now and social media being so, toxic, and we just had, the four leaders of technology being, talking in Congress, right? Because social media is not where it needs to be. It's not social.
right.
So, right? And so I was like, okay, I think what's happening is a lot of people are going to start looking for their own communities and places where they belong online. And as a business owner, that's a fantastic opportunity to go like, I'm going to create a community off of Facebook just for my people that I can help them with XYZ, right? And I think we're really at the beginning of that trend that's happening. And highly recommend any business owner, if you can start building your community now, you'll be very well off in a year.
Right. Well, you and I were talking right before we went live today about like what happened with LinkedIn, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So LinkedIn canceled my account over automation, which
Hmm.
is funny to me because LinkedIn is a platform for business owners who don't have time to be on LinkedIn all day long. So of course there's going to be some automation, and they know there are automations like HubSpot and other, other softwares out there, but they penalize you on that. So they
Hmm.
turned off my account. It was an account for like, I don't know, like a lot of years, and I had tons of testimonials and referrals and stuff, and I was, going live on LinkedIn. And when they shut off my account, I was like, wow, do I need to start it again? I don't know that I do. It actually didn't contribute that much to my business. It was
Mm,
just another outlet to post on. There was not much engagement. Um, so I'm not on LinkedIn. And so
yeah.
instead, right, I'm like, okay, let me just build my own community on my own properties. So this doesn't happen again, because it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it will and it does. And it happens like
Yeah.
this on other platforms as well. I know people that have had their Facebook pages shut down or, business pages shut down because of certain things. And it is a really important reminder to know like where are you engaging people? Where are your people? Are you building your business based on somebody else's platform that could go
Yeah.
away in a minute?
Yeah. Yeah, I think social media is fantastic for visibility and starting conversations, but at the end of the day, you don't really build, long-lasting relationships there. You and I have each other's phone numbers.
Right.
If social media dies, we can still connect, right? And that's a real relationship. When I have my birthday and people actually text me, I'm like, okay, we're actually friends, right? You're not just Facebook notified you and you're writing on my wall, right? We're like, there's something here. So I think, the more we do that with people and the more we surround ourselves
Yes.
with the people we can help, then it doesn't matter if you're on social media or not, because it
Mm,
will just, you know, grow by itself.
yeah. Well, and ultimately, I think we still have to have systems and technology that support those relationships, right? We have to
Yeah.
be able to track that data and stuff. But yeah, I think underscoring the importance of how we build our business and what the goal is, right? The goal
Yeah.
is real relationships. The goal is that regardless of whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever, that somebody will still find you or get in touch with you when they need you, when they want to engage. And so,
I find a lot lately that it's happening through referrals. So my business is
mm,
starting to grow a lot through referrals. And I was like, wow, you know what? That's a new level, right? Because now
yeah.
even if I disappear for like a month or so, someone I had a call today from someone that I worked with 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, we built a website. And today he called me. He's like, hey, you know what? I tried to do it on my own and I can't. And I realized I need to hire a marketing agency. And I remember everything that you told me. So can we work together? And I'm like, there you go. Right. So
Yes.
he hasn't found me on social media. It was definitely not LinkedIn, but he had my phone number because we
Yes.
work together. and we had a good relationship. So 2 years later, he goes like, okay, if I need to work with someone, that's the person I trust. And I think that's the hard thing, because social media kind of makes all relationship very shallow. There's a
Yes.
lot of people, but not real connection.
Well, you bring up the issue of trust, and similar to you, I had actually one of my best clients. We connected early on, and because of something else happening in his business at the time, wasn't a great fit, just timing wise, right? They had some other stuff to sort out, but I was a little bummed, and I also thought, whatever, we'll just see what happens, because if they don't take care of this, like, it'll be a problem,
Yeah,
and also that's when people come back to me, is when they have a
right.
problem, right? I don't really want that for them. But anyways, it was something like a year or 2 years later,
Yeah,
again, like, one of his right hand people inside his business went through my contact form. But I realized, like, I spent time on the phone with them, walking them through their legal needs, like establishing that relationship. In two
yeah,
years they could have gone anywhere,
yeah,
right? They could have taken that business anywhere and gotten legal help from anybody in the marketplace, but they came back to me when they were ready. And that's the
yeah,
power. And actually, even the way that I use LinkedIn is trying to get people into a real conversation, onto a
right,
phone call, right? It's not time effective. Let's be clear. Like,
right.
that's one of my main marketing efforts, and it's not time effective, but it really works on establishing relationships, which is what you focus on. And I know you've got a system for helping people establish trust online. Do you
Yeah,
want to talk to us a little bit about how you approach that and the work that you do to help people
yeah.
cut through the noise and really be seen as trustworthy?
Yeah, so thankfully, we have technology right now that does connect you with people face to face.
Mm.
A lot of people are using live streaming to just create videos and talk at people and be done. And what's funny about all that stuff is that they, um, um, hold on, editor, you're going to fix this.
No worries. Yep. David's got this. I love my editor, David.
What is it called? Traditional. There you go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the traditional content marketing funnel works like create content, create content, so you can get someone on the phone to sell them.
Yeah.
And that takes forever, a lot of content, a lot of efforts. And most people at the end of it don't pick up the phone because they know it's going to be a sales call. If we flip that, kind of like the anti funnel, right? We start moving into trust. So if we first talk to someone and then turn that conversation into content, then we build an emotional connection with the person that we were talking to
Mm.
right there and then, immediate trust, right? Because if I can help you right away without me knowing in advance what you're going to ask me, preparing for it, and like putting on my best face, if I do this live, then you go like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. And then if I follow up with you and I go like, did I answer your question? Do you need anything else? How are things working for you? Now you had a good experience with me first. We established trust. You know I can do this. And now your defenses are down because I'm coming in as a friendly advisor rather than a salesperson. And if
Mm-hmm.
I take that and turn that into content, now everybody sees me as a trusted advisor and not salesperson. And that starts the ball rolling of like visibility and trust and content and everything that I need out there. So our instant trust funnel really focuses on having conversation first, making them visible across all of social media in real time, and then turning that into the content that builds our authority.
Mm. Well, there's a couple pieces about that that I think are really key. And one, it's the conversation piece. Like, for me, like, it's why my goal on LinkedIn is to get people into, even if it's just a telephone conversation, the ability
Yeah,
to connect at the same moment through conversation. I think is just extraordinarily powerful when you compare that to what happens online through a chat or through a one-way communication or not a real live interaction. But the tools that you use, and especially with live streaming, also adding the video component to it. Like, when you and I can sit down and see each other face to face, you do that with somebody who's a potential client. You do that with somebody who is even a colleague, right? You have a much, like, it, that, even that piece takes it to the next level, because not only do you have a voice, you have a live interaction, but you now have, like, look somebody in the face and you have a sense of who they are and how they show up. I think it's a really, really important part of the puzzle.
yeah. The um, cherry on top.
That's all right. That's all right.
The cherry on top is most of us having conversations like this in private, right? So what happens
Yes.
in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yes.
And that's really hard for marketing because you can be brilliant and nobody knows it because you're just having one-on-one, one-on-one, one-on-one. When you're broadcasting these conversations, now everybody sees your brilliance and everybody kind of like,
Mhm.
get to know you from a distance, right? Kind of like it's not threatening. I'm watching her. I can see her vibe because
Yes.
that comes across on live. And I can see that she's trustworthy and I can see how she's engaging with other people. So if I come in, she's not going to chew my head off and, for a stupid question that I might ask. And I'm like gradually starting to build that connection with you. So the thing that we do that most people for some reason don't do is having those amazing conversations publicly. And
Yes.
I think a
It's
lot
like
of
the
people are
power
really
play.
afraid.
It's
That,
I call it like the power play. It's what like probably makes that experience like exponential as far as its potential impact.
right. Yeah. And I've had a lot of people who got, came into my live shows because they've seen me talking to other people and going like, "Ooh, I have a question," and "Ooh, I can ask it face to face," and then they hop in and they turn into amazing clients.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic way to get your visibility out there, show that you know what to do, and not kind of like keep what happens in Vegas, and then how do I create more content to put it out there? Just have it out there. And you and I were just talking about Dean Jackson, who's doing that with his podcast.
Mhm.
193, right? Strategy sessions that he basically puts out there. And now everybody sees how brilliant he is on a strategy session. And they're going like, okay, I want one too.
Yeah.
Great
Or
way to get clients.
yes, or he just solved that problem. That's the same problem I have. Like I want to work with him, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's so much easier, right? Because we don't have time. We're busy, right?
Mm.
So if we can do one thing and let the whole world see it and then take the time away and actually serve our clients, be with our family, spend time with the kids,
Mm.
exercise, watch a movie. I mean, there's so much more things to do than actually creating content for social media. Right?
Right? I know. It doesn't feel like it sometimes, but yes. And I think that, it's really interesting that concept of establishing trust with somebody, even if they're not in that conversation, they're just observing you have the conversation with somebody else. It's
Yeah.
really powerful because they can see themselves either in that same struggle, in that same problem that you're solving, in that client. Maybe they relate to the client or the person on the other side of the conversation. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think
If
that
you're
really,
strategic about this and you're talking to your ideal clients, then your ideal clients watching you help your ideal client.
yeah,
Done.
they're like, get in line. I know, I'm
Yeah.
next. Totally. Well, and I love what you said at the beginning of that portion about the anti-funnel, like flipping it on its head, starting with the conversation, which is what a lot of people try to drive to.
Yeah.
It's like I was observing and I always am paying attention to what people are doing on LinkedIn, but there's some annoying stuff that happens on LinkedIn, right? We've all been on the receiving end of it. But I remember reading a recommendation about like, oh, you do this thing first and you act super helpful and then you send this, but it was still like this definite like template form of like, here's what you do and then you do this. And then, message number 5 is you invite them to a conversation. And for me, like, I didn't even have the patience to like try template number 1 and number 2. Like I connect with people and I just let them know like I'm here to create genuine connections. If there's a
Yeah.
way that I can support your business, right? Or that we could have an interesting conversation about what you're doing and I can provide additional resources or anything, let's jump on a quick call, right? And
Right.
even though I may not capture as many people, the people that do raise their hand for that are super connectors.
Yeah.
They're either gonna be an ideal client, a referral partner, or somebody
Yeah.
that knows somebody in the marketplace that needs what I have. And I don't mention anything about what I do in that initial message. Nothing
Yeah.
about it. I don't try to shove my stuff in their face. I don't try to be helpful with my latest blog article, right?
How many times did I get that? I was like, I actually messaged a few people. And I was like, how's that working for you? Like, do you actually get anything from that? Because
Right. I mean, the last thing that we would do in person, meeting face to face, is like, here, let me show you my X, Y, and Z. Read it,
Right.
and people, for whatever reason, do that all over the place online. So I really love, love, love your concept of the anti-funnel and going right to conversation and starting there. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, and it's really funny because when who said that? Someone said that like everything that's great for marketing is the opposite of what we're doing in real life. So
Hmm.
like in real life, we're not gonna go around and shove everything in people's faces. In marketing, for some reason in our brain, we turn it into a numbers game. So we're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna, gonna burn 700 people, but one of them is gonna be my client. And I'm like, yeah, but the internet doesn't forget, right?
No,
And now it's
no.
even worse. So now I'm actually coming, like people are introducing me to people who know people from my past. And I was like, oh man, you worked with that person too? Yeah, and I quit because blah blah. I'm like, yeah, because the internet doesn't forget. And if someone is an angel, there, eventually we're all gonna meet that and we're all gonna talk about it and we're all gonna know.
Yes.
And slowly, slowly, not your business is gonna die.
Yeah.
So I'm really just fascinated with the fact that the minute you sit in front of a monitor, you forget all your humanity and you're like, oh,
Yes.
hey, blast, 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 blast.
It's really true. And, take like spending just we won't beat a dead horse, but spending 1 minute longer on that concept of like things that people do once they transition online, like forgetting all the rules about how you should really treat people. It's like, connecting with somebody, and then the next thing you know, you've been enrolled automatically to their email list. Like,
Yeah.
what? Would you really do that to somebody? And yet people do it. So it's yeah, I think there's a lot that people get wrong in the online marketing space, creating content, trying to do things that are just weird when you really break it down. And I know you've got a piece on connection versus content. Maybe we already covered it, but I love the reframe.
Yeah. So, I think people get into this point from desperation. They go like, oh my God, shit, I need clients online. Let me start blasting everybody with my, buy my seat, right? Buy my shit, shit.
Totally.
So can I cuss on your show?
You can cuss. Buy my shit.
Shit,
I'm
shit.
gonna quote that.
Right? And so we when we get into this like, oh my God, I got rent or I got something, I got to make sales this month, we get into this panic mode where we just like, pushing stuff out there. And we forget that relationships take time. And now, especially if you're selling high ticket items, 500, 700, $1,000, it's not going to be an impulse buy. So you have to build the trust in the relationship. And the challenge with that is that so many people have been burnt already through different scam products. Everybody got a PDF, everybody has a free offer that you can go in and do something. And so you're not just competing with your competitors, you're competing with everybody online that's, trying to grab someone's attention. And the only way that someone will pay attention to you is if you matter, right? If you made a difference, if you kind of like actually created some kind of an emotional connection. And that takes time. And most people don't take the 2 3 4 weeks that it takes to go like, hey Heather, I see that you posted about this a few times. Can I help you? I'll jump on a phone call and just walk you through this. I had that with uh, someone introduced me to a fantastic Broadway producer, Ken Davenport. And we got on a call and I was like, how you doing? And what's going on? And blah, blah, just, like an introductory call. And then I watched that he was doing some online stuff like live streaming. And I'm like, hey, do you want some pointers? And he's like, yeah, sure. Usually, right, people will be like, fantastic, well, that'll be $500 and I will get you on a roll.
Totally.
And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, can I bring my assistant? Sure. And we spent an hour and kind of like helped him with all his systems and everything that he need to do online and how to engage and how to make it more professional. And now we're friends, right? So I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
Ken, I have this thing. Do you want to show up? Sure. Can I do this? And sure, right? So that relationship is worth way more than the $500 I would have charged for like, consultation.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, jump into like, okay, here's my money, here's my PayPal, here's how you pay me, right? I'm not going to talk to you unless you become my client. Well, if everybody does that, and if you want to stand out, then help first, then, you know, find out what they want and then charge them for that.
Yes.
So if you reverse the things, your business will grow much faster.
Well, and I mean, the headline for this conversation, or really anything involving marketing in the online space, is like connection. And you said that takes time. I think
Yeah.
people want the shortcuts. They want
Yep.
to go around everybody else. They want to jump ahead in line, right? All the things. And you can't. If you're really about building a business that is going to thrive and also going to work for your clients and for people that you should be connecting with, it takes time, and
Yeah.
it takes
And you know what? Another thing that I think everybody forgets, and that's the fault of like influencer marketing. You
mm,
don't need a million followers to
mm,
make a good living, right? If you need six figures a year, you heard that theory of 1,000 true fans,
yes.
right? So if you have 1,000 true fans who only pay you $100 a year, not a month, a year, you make six figures, right? So if you have 500 who pay you 100 a month, then you're good, right? If you have 100 people who pay you 100 a month, you're good. You're making six figures a year. So the numbers are much smaller than what people think. And so you can slow down and just be like,
Mm,
okay, I only need two clients a month. And to get two clients a month, I only need to have 10 conversations. And to only have 10 conversations, I can have one and a half a day, right? One and a
mhm.
half conversations a day, and I'm good. And you don't have to chase it, and you don't have to grow it, and you don't have to be blinded by all those big numbers. You can relax and you can
Mm.
engage and you can have conversations and just grow your clientele more than the vanity numbers, and you'll be way farther ahead than most of your other online competitors.
Yes. No, and ooh, I mean, even just hearing that, it's like, ooh, anything to take the frenetic feeling out of like what it feels like it takes to be online and do that well, right? Being in all the places, doing all the things, pushing out content. It's all you hear about,
Yeah,
right? But I
yeah,
love that reframe of like, how can you build your business in a way that allows you to slow down and focus on connection, which is the fastest path to get where
right.
you want to go anyways.
Yeah. And have you noticed that like all those experts, they're an experts in one thing? It's like I'm a LinkedIn expert, I'm an Instagram expert, I'm a YouTube expert, but I'm not a LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook expert, right? Because you can't be doing all of it at one time. So
No.
same thing for a business owner. Pick one thing, just one, right? And dive deep into that. So if you want to have conversations on Facebook, just be on Facebook. Forget everything else. So I was in Google Plus. Most people listening to this going like, Google what? Right? And just one a platform that most people couldn't care less about, right? Build my entire brand. I wasn't on LinkedIn. I didn't have a Facebook profile. Nothing, right? And
Yeah.
everybody says Facebook is the biggest thing. Okay, but my brand grew over there, and who cares? So relax, pick where you want to have conversations. Where do you like the culture of the platform
Hmm.
that you enjoy? Do you like to do videos? Then go to YouTube, right? That's your platform. Do you like to write? Then Medium maybe is your thing, right? If you like to put images and stuff, Instagram is your gig. Pick one and just forget everything else. Give yourself a break.
Mm, I love that. Yes, I really, and I believe in that so strongly, like not doing all the things because somebody else says do this. Like really
Yeah,
get in tune with, and you do have to know, where are your people? Where do you like to connect, which may take some experimenting, right? It's not
right,
always a straight path. But really being more intentional about exactly where you show up, what conversations you're having, how you're building out that connection. And it just, even just the sound of that sounds so much more enjoyable than the alternative.
yeah. I have a client who's in corporate, and because she works with CEOs, those CEOs are not on LinkedIn. It doesn't
Right.
matter. Yeah, right. So it's
They're
like
probably
email and
not on
phone.
any of the things, right?
Nothing.
They're
Yeah,
nowhere. Yeah,
yeah, right.
exactly.
And so, yay. So she's not on social media. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right? So for
Shock,
her, it's
horror of
email.
horrors, right?
I
No
know.
social media. People are freaking out. Stop. I
Right.
know. No, it's really true. If you know where to go
Yeah.
find your people, you don't have to be all the places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Email marketing still works.
Yeah.
Text messages still work. Direct mail works.
Right. I
Yeah.
know. I
Yeah.
want to try that. I'm actually excited to try that at some point. So I think, before we wrap up, a couple of things. One, I want to hear about your bungee jumping off of the bridge in Ecuador.
Yeah, so when I went to South America, I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't know where I was going,
Uh-huh.
and I just followed people. And so when I got to Ecuador, people were like, "Hey, Sunday, it's bungee jumping," and I'm like, "Okay."
I love that.
And
I just followed people. I just followed people all the way to Ecuador.
yeah, I took a one-way ticket to Chile, and I was like, yeah, because teenagers, we don't know what we want to do in our lives, right? And most people in the States, they go to universities and then they go down this rabbit hole of like, oh, I didn't finish a degree, or now I have a degree that I don't like
That I don't
because,
want or I'll never
right?
use. Right.
Because who
Yeah.
knows what you want to do when you're 20 or 18 or
Yes.
16? We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Um, so at 20, after I did my military service in Israel, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. So I'm going to take a one-way ticket and I'm just going to go backpack. And hopefully during the tour, something will come up and I'll realize what I want to do and I'll go do it. Um, and so I got to Chile and I had no plan. I was like, I'll just go and I'll see. And I had a tour guide, like a tour book, Lonely Planet. And I was like, oh, that looks like a great city. Let's go there. And there were a lot of people who were traveling. So I'm like, hey, where are you guys going? And they were like, yeah, we're taking a car and we're driving down. I'm like, can I join you? Sure. And so I spent 8 months like that. And I ended up in Ecuador. Um, on a bridge, and I really believe that you have to try something more than once, because the first time you have no idea, you like it, you don't like it, because it's the first experience. And so after you do it, then you do it another time, and then you go like, okay, I really like it or I really don't like it. And so I jumped. It was fantastic, and I came back and I was like, okay, I have to do this again because
Oh my
it was
gosh. I
thrilling.
couldn't tell. I couldn't
It's
tell. Did I like that? Did I not like that? That's
how was
hilarious.
it? And so I came to the guy and I was like, hey, I need to jump again. And he's like, we only allow that for people, whose birthday is on this day. And I'm like, dude, it's my birthday. And he's like, really? And I'm like, no, but come on, let me, jump. So he had everybody sing happy birthday so other people will not ask the same thing. And I
Right.
jumped the second time. And it's very interesting because the first time it's just an experience. You have no idea what to expect and you're just like flying and stuff, and this is what happened. Second time, you kind of remember where you should stop, but you don't really remember. And so you think you're going to stop here and then you keep falling and now
Oh.
you're freaking out. You're like, oh my God. So it was fantastic. I would definitely do that again. It was really, really good.
Oh my gosh. So most people are fibbing to get like free dessert, right? Fibbing about their birthdays. Yifat is fibbing to get another bungee jump. That's hilarious. Well, yeah, that's a really fun story. And it is interesting, like, because I think, and I don't know if it just is because it's such a thrilling, like out of our normal comfort zone type of experience, like not being able to observe exactly how the first time goes, but even the understanding the second time of like, wait a second, I thought I was stopping here, and it even
Well,
like in a way being more thrilling. That's really interesting.
because we never know. Like, do you remember your first time or your second time of anything? And it kind of like everything's kind of like based on like, well, what was I feeling in the moment, and the moment changes, right? So
Yeah, I bungee jumped one time, but I honestly don't remember anything about it except for realizing like, oh my gosh, I'm jumping over pavement. Why did I make this decision? It was one of those big cranes over a parking lot outside of the mall. Awesome. Really exciting to jump there. Super funny though. But yeah, I don't think I remember anything about it. I remember seeing a video of myself that somebody had taken, right? And I was blonde at the time and my hair was just like going everywhere, and that's like like, oh yeah, I had a lot of hair, it went everywhere. That was my memory. So yeah, it was so funny.
you were blowing in the wind.
Blowing in the wind. Oh my gosh. So I think you've got a gift for people, right? 4
Yeah.
easy ways to get raving fans and hungry buyers. Do you want to talk to us for a minute? And for people listening, where you can get the information to connect with Yifat, to get access to her gift, go to the show notes, which are at legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Look for Yifat's episode, and it'll be right there. But Yifat, tell us a little bit about this gift.
Yeah. So, like we were talking, most people, have a hard time um, finding their audience online, engaging
Mm,
with them, knowing what to say, how to say it, knowing how to move them to the next stage, knowing what to sell, how to sell, do I need a shop, a website, a shopping cart, all that stuff. So that training is really to show you how to find the problem that people want to pay money for, how to engage with them, and how to make money, even if you don't have a website and you don't have a
mm,
product and you don't have a system. You'll see 4 ways of making money if you're just starting out. So it's a fantastic tool for people who want to kind of like test what online engagement feels like, and monetize it. It will take you some time, probably like
mm.
the training is like an hour, but applying it will take you probably like 4 weeks to do that. And if you need any help or anything at all, I'm just an email away, and you can message me, and we have a community where you can come in and
Mm.
actually do this in real time.
Mm.
So try it on your own, see how you like it, and if you need help, know that there's a place for you to get support.
Well, I love that. And if you get inside of Yifat's community, you'll get to observe firsthand how she like walks the talk, right? How she implements what she teaches other people to do, which is really, really valuable. So,
Yeah, it's
Yifat,
not on Facebook.
yeah, also not on LinkedIn.
Also not on LinkedIn.
Hilarious. Well, Yifat, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm such a fan of what you do. I'm a personal fan of really connecting with people, and so I know the value in what you do. Any final thoughts for people before we sign off today?
Just take the leap. If you're afraid to really engage with people, just know everybody's afraid.
Hmm.
Everybody's worried about connecting, and everybody's worried to be sold to. But a
Yes.
lot of people love to buy, and they love to buy from people where they feel safe and trusted and comfortable with. So I really, really highly encourage people to make that mindset shift,
Mm,
from like broadcasting to engaging. It's a lot easier, it's a lot more fun, and it's a lot more rewarding.
yeah.
So hopefully you take me up on that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I think the part about engaging and connecting, it's a lot easier for people to see how they are serving when they're
Yeah.
doing those things versus selling, right? I think a lot of people understand that icky feeling of being sold to and they don't want to do that. But if you're creating genuine connection and you are serving people in the moment,
Yeah.
the best way
So
to
much easier.
sell. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Awesome. Ifat, I so appreciate you. Thank you for being here today. We will connect again very soon.
Thanks for having me.